My name is Mark. I work at ePlus Technology, a global IT services company supporting most of the globe, specifically, though, obviously, the United States and East to West Coast, UK, and India. I have derived this list of common server migration pitfalls from my experiences of doing these kind of migrations, along with the engineers on my team. So I run a number of teams, but one of the ones that's pertinent for today is that we run an assessments team and a cloud migration team. And so I've asked them, guys, team, over the years, we've done enough of these now. What do you see in the field as the most common server pitfalls that your customers typically run into, and what happens and how can we address those? So what I want to do real quickly is just kind of run you through what we feel are like roughly the top 10 pitfalls that we see in the field. First and foremost, the biggest common pitfall that we see is, as you can imagine, inadequate planning. And this is just, as you had mentioned, a lot of times this is beyond your control. A higher level of management comes to you and says, hey, we need to be out of our data center into the cloud, into another solution by X date. And as a result, you aren't aligned and to have and map out the proper way to get this done in a meaningful way, right? So you get rushed, and as a result, mistakes happen and it goes sideways quickly. So first and foremost, you have to push back and say that you need enough time to adequately plan what you're trying to accomplish and make sure that you're in place to get it done successfully. So is there sufficient backup strategy? Do you currently have a good backup strategy in place for your on-prem today? Right? Do you have tested backups and restore procedures that work today? Because there's pretty good chance that as you're migrating this from one location to another, something's going to happen. Some data is going to get corrupted. There's going to be a byte that gets missed, and you have to restore that solution back to on-prem. And if that's the case, you want to make sure you have a tried and tested solution that you will work, so that you don't lose any additional time. Compatibility issues. So now you're talking about, okay, how compatible is your environment currently for the solution that you're moving to? Your mismatched OSs, your database, your software versions, are they all up to date? Are they the newest versions? Because depending upon where you're moving, some cloud providers will only support certain OSs going forward. They don't go back to XP. You can't move 2012. There's certain server versions that you can't move to certain cloud versions, and you need to know what that is in order to understand what your path to getting compatible with that solution would be. Once again, data loss and corruption. What happens if you suffer from missing files, database integrity issues? How do you recover from that? What is your plan to move forward if there is an issue that arises? You have to have that planned out. You have to know what your solution entails. You really need as pristine an on-prem solution as you can have in order to migrate it successfully. Trying to just lift and shift what you have today into a cloud is, number one, very, very expensive, and number two, usually not going to be successful. It's just there's too many gotchas there for that aging environment to do that with. Poor downtime mitigation, phase migration planning. What are your wave groups? What are your move groups? Which servers are you going to move together? And how do you know which servers that you should move together based on their dependencies and of the other servers and the other infrastructure in that environment? What current server vulnerabilities are you potentially having? We can tell you, what versions of IIS are you running? What versions of TLS are you running? What versions of, all these security components in your environment do you have today? Are there vulnerabilities? Do we need to worry about patching that before we move to the cloud or to another, solution? Performance degradation, resource misallocation, and latency issues, all things that we need to understand. What are your network bandwidth speeds? How much traffic are you sending from one server to another server? What are your resources as far as are they over-provisioned or under-provisioned? Do you have too many CPUs, not enough CPUs, too much memory, not enough memory? All these things need to be taken into account from at the very least, a cost savings perspective, so that you can move it to the adequate size VM into the cloud. DNS and configuration is also another huge red flag that can come up. DNS can be just the bane of our existence in normal day-to-day life, much less when we're looking to move to the cloud. So knowing what that looks like, making sure your DNS is healthy, and working through any issues you may have currently and fixing those before you move will save you a whole lot of headaches into the migration process. Licensing is another one. How is your licensing scheme going to work on-prem versus the cloud? Because cloud, whole different set of licensing structures that you need to look in. Are you going to bring your own licensing? Are you going to utilize the cloud service provider's licensing method? Are you using SQL on-prem? What are you going to do with SQL when you move to the cloud? So you have a whole host of SQL and licensing, overall licensing conversations that you need to have and understand the cost and what that impact will be from moving on-prem as you are today to the cloud. And then last, but certainly not least, your lack of post-migration testing. Once everything has been migrated to the cloud, or at least the wave group or the move group that you're working on currently, testing that wave group and move group to make sure that everything came up as you expect and that there aren't any unintended consequences like communications that are trying to come back, traverse back through the firewall to your internal infrastructure, causing a whole host of issues and havoc there. So understanding that, you know, your testing beginning, testing in the middle, testing at the end, having a backup strategy that works, testing that out, and of course, absolutely making sure that you have enough planning to get this done correctly. So with that, I will turn it back over.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think that this is a great list of things, and one of the things we want to cover today in today's webinar is how we can help in Fathom, and especially with the migration planning phase, which is most of the time we consider it as 80% of the actual workload that you need to take into account and what you need to do.
Get started now with self-service. No credit card or sales call is needed.